Welcome back to It's Chow Time Pod. It's your host, Red. I got another video today from Vice, actually. Pearl's actually on this particular episode, and it's women debating about a lot of feminist ideology and just modern leftist ideology. And I actually haven't really seen it, so these are pretty raw reactions for me. And it looks really good, to tell you the truth. I like these types of videos. Like, as men, we get to see how women, literally think about some of these things and their thought processes. And we actually get to see Pearl, kick back at them, representing men in a sense. So please like and subscribe down below. I really appreciate that. And let's get to the chow. It's chow time, guys.
How is it sexism when we have no barriers today? So we can pick what we want to pick.
Who doesn't have barriers?
Women don't have barriers?
Women, yeah. What's
we have
stopping
no
you?
It's already getting heated already for their little intro thing.
You can do whatever you want.
I can or you can?
What's stopping you?
Look at her face. Perfect. Yeah, go Pearl, go. Yeah, shout outs to Pearl. Damn, a lot of these women look a little angry.
Should we mark this bad boy at all? Oh my goodness.
Oh, here we go.
Hi, welcome everybody. I'm Liz Landers. I'm Vice News' chief political correspondent, and we are here today to talk about some of the biggest issues dividing women across the country. In other words, we're here to talk about feminism.
Damn.
First, I just want to say, we know we can't represent everybody.
She even admitted it. This is dividing women across the country. Feminism itself. That's a good indicator of how this might be going.
Everybody's views, but we did try our best to bring together a diverse group of women today. In today's polarized world, is feminism dead? I saw your hand.
I think that depends on the definition of feminism. I strongly think that
That's always the first thing people always want to, the definition of this particular word. It's just like, how many definitions do these words have? God damn.
feminism is more of an action than an identity. I would say it's uplifting all women, in which case it's very alive. At the same time, if we do follow that
Definitely more of an identity than an action.
definition,
Totally disagree with this
feminism
one.
has splintered off into so many different areas that you can look at people like Sheryl Sandberg who say you should just get another nanny if you feel oppressed. And if we're talking about that kind of feminism, yeah, it's pretty dead.
Yeah, I mean, as long as the human race exists, feminism will never be dead. There's something that we're always going to have to strive and work towards to make sure that there's equality. So feminism is not dead.
I don't know that it can die. As long as there's power and oppression, there will be people fighting for equity. And until that somehow goes away.
You hear that, guys? She changed from equality to equity. So everybody gets the same outcome now, no matter what you put in. That's what the same equity is.
Feminism is alive and well.
I think feminism isn't actually about equality. It's about equality when it benefits us. I think feminism is really about women wanting special privileges and treatment at the expense of men often.
Look at her face. I think we're going to have a really good time with this one.
And I think it's alive and well, sadly.
I think feminism is also alive and well. There are different kinds of feminism, right? Like, that is obvious. And for me, as a womanist, as a Black...
I just want to get the different kinds of feminism. Do we look at communism that way? Are there different types of communism? Is there some communism better than others? Is there some not? Why do we see it like this? It's like certain ideologies, just probably aren't the best, right? So I don't know. This is kind of weird that they would bring this up like that.
Feminist, right, as someone who's really thinking about human rights, dignity, right, equity, right, as long as...
Damn. Okay. She also says equity. I think we're going to be in trouble, guys. if women really are pushing for equity and everything, I think we're going towards communism, because this is an eye-opening one.
That need isn't met, we're still gonna keep fighting.
I'd say it's alive and well. I'd say that it's also very nuanced, and I think what it looks like is going to differ depending on where you are in the world. For me, I just see it as a lens, which isn't necessarily antagonistic or protagonistic. It's just a useful tool.
Similar to what Pearl just said, I find that a lot of feminist ideology and thought today feels more of like a supremacist movement rather than something that is supposed to be advancing the goals of equality. I don't think that we can really term what's going on as feminism because it looks so different to, I think, the earlier feminist movement. So in that way, I would say it's taken its last breaths of life. It's dying.
Yeah, I definitely think it's getting more and more radicalized, for sure. So it's definitely still alive.
I mean, both sides. I mean, even the red pill is pretty radicalized too. Not saying, like, there's men on my comments saying we shouldn't agree with anything with women, and anything that women say is completely, out to get us. That rhetoric is a little bit much. I mean, women are out for themselves and men are out for themselves in a sense too. Just men do look at the overall picture more.
Preface and say that I don't know so much about modern Western feminism, and there might be a lot of terms that I don't know, like political jargon and stuff.
What the fuck is she wearing?
But I believe in the advancement of women, whoever considers themselves a woman. I think there's a
Whoever considers themselves a woman. Guys.
Deficiency in society. So it's deeply rooted that feminism has always existed. I think America's a little obsessed with themselves, and it's like always feminism is rooted in America. And like, oh, white women started it. And it's kind of offensive because for thousands of years, women have been dying for their rights.
I think as a Black woman specifically, when you talk about feminism, the mainstream first thing you think about is a certain type of feminism that tends to exclude still, even today, even with intersectional feminism, exclude African-American women. And it's always kind of done that. And also like, upper middle class white women have.
I do agree. I think the upper middle class white women do benefit the most out of it.
It's predominantly been the face of what we quote unquote consider feminism.
I think feminism is attempting to say, okay, the first thing we agree on is that there are barriers and friction to what I need and what I want based on the fact that I'm a woman. What it ignores is that, and what privilege is that you may not have to think that being a woman and being a Black woman and being a Black woman who has a disability, for example, impacts you further. You have more barriers, you have more friction, you are less able to get what you want, you're undervalued.
This is why they want equity. They're just explaining how difficult it is to compete, and they just want everybody to be the same or get the same treatment. This is what I'm hearing from her.
Valued in a way that's like, okay, well, that's life. That's what I mean by equity, and that we're able to, without friction, all get the same needs met.
That is fucking bullshit. Not everybody deserves the same thing. That's fucking bullshit. I like... No offense to like disabled people or anything like that. Nothing against them. But a disabled person that doesn't work should not be getting the same things as a able-bodied person that works very hard. Like to make it so the two people get to get the same equity as each other is unreasonable. Like, I understand as a society, we want to take care of the people that need to get taken care of. Nothing wrong with that. But to say, oh, this CEO that worked all of his fucking 40 years of his life doing 60 hours a day or 60 hours a week to get to where he is should get the exact same outcome as, say, me. Normal guy, immigrant, probably didn't work as hard to become a CEO, but we should get the exact same thing. It's just fucking stupid.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
And it's weird that they don't realize that's communism. That's why you're leaning towards communism with this. Communism doesn't matter how hard you work. Everybody gets distributed the same. what's the incentive for working hard then? Like, if I'm gonna get the same as this disabled person, what gives me any incentive at all to want to do anything more than what this disabled person is able to do? It's just.
See, I disagree with that. I think life is easier if you're a girl.
Damn right it is.
I think there's a lot of benefits that men don't have. I'm not going to speak anything to race. I'm just talking.
Look at her face. I just I'm gonna pause it every time she makes a face, man.
About gender specifically. It's usually like an excuse. Like, honestly, I think as a girl, you have equal opportunity in the world. I think there's benefits. Like, for example, we have quotas for women in specific jobs that are given to us that aren't given to men. So yeah, I would say it's easier being a girl.
Just from a viewpoint over here, though, it seems there's a lot of pretty privilege in what you're saying, and that you're white and you present.
You think I'm pretty?
Oh God.
I think that you.
It's funny how they attack each other with privileges, and just because she is speaking on an issue that is a different view than her, oh, she has privilege because she's pretty. Like, bitch, she's just saying what she thinks she's saying, like what she believes in. Like, how does that pretty privilege?
Present in a way that beauty standards have accepted. And so
they call me ugly on the internet all the time. They be roasting me daily, I swear to God.
I don't mean to say I think you're gorge. I just mean that there a certain value that we give to certain bodies.
I mean, let's also dig into why these quotas exist and why these, what you're calling
because
privileges
we want
exist.
special treatment.
No, but it's because there have historically and presently in most jobs been fewer women and because of sexism.
How is it sexism when we have no barriers today? So we can pick
has
what
no
we want to
barriers?
pick.
It doesn't have barriers.
Women don't have barriers?
Women, yeah. What's
We have
stopping
no
you? You can do
barriers.
whatever you want.
I can or you can?
What's stopping you? As a woman, as a woman.
That ignores a lot that I'm a woman with a disability. So there's a lot stopping me that you don't.
See, it was a gender issue. Now it becomes a disability issue on top of her gender issue. Why do women want to just put as much, what do you call it? Victimhood on themselves as much as possible?
Don't have to think about.
Well, as I said before, I'm speaking about women. I'm not.
You're speaking for yourself.
You're speaking as an able-bodied
white woman.
They have to specify. I can't even say the word right. Specify, whatever the word means, to say that she is a able-bodied white woman. She's just a woman. All women.
She presents white.
Of course, there's going to be other barriers if you're disabled. I'm sure. Like I'm talking about as a woman.
So you're just going to ignore
white
the
women
pay
have it
gap.
easier. Yes, I would agree.
What?
You're just going to ignore the pay gap, regulation over bodies.
The pay gap has been
Bullshit.
Pay gap doesn't
endlessly,
exist,
my friend.
It doesn't. It's the industries that women pick.
Let's talk about it.
There's a pay gap, but it's because women don't want to do the hardest industries.
Yep.
I don't think it's that simple. I think that's an oversimplification. I think the fact of the matter is that women structure their lives differently to men.
Yep.
Men don't give birth. Men don't have to carry pregnancies. Men don't have to be the primary caregiver most of the time. Women also don't hold jobs for as long as men do. They often will stop and start. They'll go back into work. They'll take time off. They'll take part-time jobs. The way that men work and women work are astronomically different.
Correct.
And to try to say that they're comparable is where this issue comes from. They're not comparable.
Two things. First of all, let's dig into why they think that they should take these jobs, which is societal sexism, and then also.
No, because nobody's going to take these jobs if we don't. Do you think infrastructure, sewers, power lines are going to run? Do you think men really want to do these things? Do you think we want to be on power lines? Want to stink like sewage? No. But these jobs are necessary for society to run. And women don't want to do it. So guess who it falls on? Yes, it falls on us. Or else shit falls fucking apart.
Actually, Department of Labor, all statistics, at least speaking in the US, have found that when compared for the same jobs, there still is a pay gap, particularly when it pertains.
How is that possible when it's illegal? It's been illegal for 40 plus years to pay a woman different than a man.
to raise.
Because 60% of women have never asked for a raise. So how can you complain about your pay if you don't ask for it?
Why are they not?
What happens when women ask for raises?
Yeah.
Sorry, I've been wanting to say something, but I want to be respectful. I don't want to interrupt people, and I want to let them finish their thoughts.
Jump in,
But you know,
go
it's
through the
just
wall.
it is a very privileged label, right, to be able to say that you're feminist, right? And I say that because I come from a working class background of Dominican immigrant parents. My mother would not necessarily identify as a feminist. I look to my mother, and I do think of her as a feminist. A lot of my ideas and my empowerment comes from seeing her like survive and put food on the table. When I'm thinking of
Seeing her survive. So she was just struggling to survive this whole time with your being with your father. Like, that's what you're saying?
about feminism, I'm always thinking about who's not part of the conversation. What are the barriers? How do we think about equity? How do we think about self-empowerment and agency and having a voice?
Another one about equity. I think we're going towards communism, guys. This equity thing is pissing me off.
Right, and having choice and thinking about our basic human rights, education, access to health, homes, like having
Everybody has
bread,
access to
having
those things.
food, and those things are very important, right? And they're at the crux, right, of what a lot of us here know that we need. It's like there are the barriers, right, that we constantly ignore that are very much systemic and microaggressive, right? We see them and experience them every day.
Like what in the U.S.?
So,
Like what?
What would you like to know an example of?
I know you said that there's like barriers. I want to know what barriers in the U.S. today as a woman.
Well, as a woman or as a woman of color? Let's be specific.
As a woman, I said.
See, we're talking about women's issues, but they always want to specify it to like one category of women. But like, no, it's an overall arching women have it better than men, or have it more privileged than men. That's the argument.
We don't. Well, no, I can't answer as a woman.
I
'cause I'm
just feel like
not a
your
woman,
question is
right?
kind of hostile when you're like, there are no barriers to what I want. Congratulations. That means you have a privilege where you're not facing any friction.
Oh, I see how this works now. Because she says that, they're using it as like she's like so privileged that she doesn't understand the woes of normal women. Is that what they're going about? Damn, I see how it goes.
And that's showing, and I feel like it's
I think
like
as an American, you're very privileged. Like,
Can we go
I'm not ignoring that.
Or
right,
like a
so-
basic level of what the feminist movement is when it comes to just being born a woman, right? Physically, pound for pound, we are born as women and we have less lean muscle mass than men. So there are issues of violence and assault and stuff like that. And so therefore, there are policies, there are things to help women physically, like, for example, I believe being able to carry a firearm and being able to use that safely to defend yourself against men who are born naturally with more muscle mass than a woman.
I do admit a gun is the ultimate equalizer. That's how my father always mentioned it to me. My father is a 5'4", 135, some skinny Asian guy. And if my dad was to fight against any normal sized American, he'd probably get his ass beat pretty bad just because of size difference. But my dad is always strapped. So that's one thing my dad has always said. Because if I have a gun and he has a gun, doesn't matter how big he is, doesn't matter how strong he is, we are equal. And now it's just who pulls it the fastest and who's able to shoot better.
I keep hearing the term equity. What would a world that has equity look like? Like, would it be 50% of everyone in the same jobs? Would it be like prison, 50%?
That's equality.
50%.
Yeah,
So what does equity look like?
So equity is generally described
They're mixing the two words up.
As a state of fairness, because historically a lot of people have been arguing for equality, but what does that give us? Like 0.5 of the 1% being women. This doesn't really do anything for us.
Equality of opportunity means you're able to do and grow at the same rate as anybody else in this country. How much effort, time, and energy you put into your craft makes a huge difference. Most men put a significant amount of time and effort into their craft. That's why they are on the top 1%. And as you said, society sees us differently. We have to provide. So that's...
And so people have talked about equity instead, which is instead of sameness, it's fairness. And
It's not fair. I don't know why they think it's fair. Equity is not fair. I mean, everybody gets the same. In a sense, okay, all right. In a sense of everybody getting one, that's the same. But does everybody deserve one? Does everybody need one? No, you need to allocate resources accordingly. Not just everybody deserves a portion of everything. How is society going to progress if everybody has everything that they want without having to do anything? Or the ones that don't have to do anything, they're going to see, oh, I'm privileged now. I don't have to do anything, but I'm still going to get the same outcome as that guy that works 40 hours a week. And now that 40 hours a week guy looks at the guy that's privileged. It's just like, well, fuck. I work 40 hours a week. I still get paid this. If I don't work 40 hours a week anymore, I still get paid the same. I guess I'll just not work anymore too.
this would mean that we remove systemic barriers to engage in society, not just for women, but also for everyone.
So which barriers?
Those barriers that you don't believe in.
I do. Go
for
on.
you to have a bunch of ramps in your life. It doesn't do shit. I need those ramps, right?
Can we stick to male versus female? That's my question. So I'm thinking male versus female.
But feminism includes ability, it includes
but my
race.
question is
You
for
guys
women.
can talk.
For women versus men. Like what barriers do we need removed?
Yeah.
Because that's my statement. I'm not stating anything else. I'm stating women.
Oh my God. Perfect. Look at her face, dude. Like she has like this. I cannot believe.
Versus men.
It's very silly.
So what barrier? I just want to.
The question
it's a
is
fair
silly.
question.
So, yeah, but
It's not a fair question. It's
How is it not a fair question?
Kind of proving the point of why
What barriers do we have? That's fucking hostile.
what people, especially Black women, other people who are anybody who's not white, why we hear feminism and we don't want that label because it means, I'm just gonna say, it means that. Like, it means that you've already gone into a pinnacle of whatever you think your happiness needs or whatever your survivalist needs are, when there are people on lower end who are trying to survive, who are trying to get to a point of what should be normal.
I do agree. The people that are trying to survive give no fucks about feminism. It's definitely a very privileged group of people that are pretty like higher up in the echelon, like the middle class, like up and coming middle class that are able to become or be able to be feminism. People that are struggling, like you see all the third world countries that are struggling, it's very hard for feminism to kind of take hold just because there's not much to, you're not able to do a lot of that things, you know? Like there's not enough money going around for these women to be able to do that.
Based on what other people have.
It sort of sounds like you're saying feminism is not always inclusive then.
Right.
No, it
most
is
of the
not.
time it's not
Well,
inclusive.
from what I can tell.
It's more times than not, it's not. So
I definitely agree because of the equity thing that the other white silver-haired lady mentioned. Because of the equity and the quotas that women have, it's not fair.
and within the just feminism space, again, there obviously the very basic is male versus female versus, but unfortunately, we've only had one subset of women be the face and voice and the academics and research and everything to be able to say, well, that's the standard we need to be in, when there are other people who are still trying to get to some type of normalcy and just living.
I get what she's saying.
What is the biggest issue then that feminism faces?
I think it's the mindset. Women taking like the agency, women taking initiative. I think it's mindset holding them back a lot, because if you want to be in a competitive world and compete, you have to have the right mindset.
Correct.
And I think a lot of people blame their lack of confidence or what society tells them for the reason they're not achieving what they need to achieve, when that's not the case. You have to have the mindset of achieving, because the men who built the world had the mindset of building it. So the women who want to engage and build that further, they need to have that same mindset.
I don't think we do. I think that's like assuming that we all want to be capitalist babies.
Right.
I think that men are not well adjusted in the society and women are not trying to re-embody what they have built for us. I think that like what we're forgetting is a very important detail, which is just like human respect and dignity.
Yeah, that's...
And not asking people to prove what their experience is and to prove to you. Like, it is like such conservative thinking to say like, I don't understand, explain it to me, versus just saying, I don't understand and let me respect what you are saying.
I'm respecting
right?
wherever you...
If I don't understand it, I would like to understand it. So why wouldn't I ask for you to explain it? So me asking me for to explain it makes me conservative? So a seeking of knowledge of an understanding of the other person makes me conservative?
Starting point, I'm respecting that. I'm really respecting that. I'm saying that if you don't have the mindset you can even achieve it, you're never going to even try. So it's never...
Achieve what? Like, what are we talking about?
Achieve
Because I feel like you've
a fair
projected this
world.
like
No,
capitalist ideology on every woman.
Achieve whatever it is you're looking for, equality, equity. But what I'm saying is women in the feminist space and a lot of these other spaces, we don't acknowledge that we have to take the initiative. We have to take the action. We have to have the mindset. We have to demand those things.
I don't understand how we're getting so off topic. This is about feminism today, whereas everybody wants to make this about their individual, here are all the multitude of other things that factor into my person. Great. This is about feminism. It's about womanhood. I understand that all of you have your own individual experiences and the other things that feed into you as a person. That's perfectly fine. But this is where intersectionality falls off the planet and loses, I would argue, probably the vast majority of people, including me. I'm not even a feminist. I don't give a crap about feminists arguing amongst themselves about who's the most victimized. But this is
That's what I was literally just talking about earlier. Woo! Perfect.
annoying to listen to. I honestly I don't understand anything anybody's
Look at
even trying to
Pearl.
get at.
Look, I just want to say that I don't think equity and this concept of competition can't coexist with each other. Equity is building more facilities for people who need them. It is recognizing that there are holes in the market and there's opportunities for women and feminine expansive people and meeting those opportunities. I think equity can buoy the pre-existing system that we live in a good way.
And this is where we're going to get to what I think the real feminist arguments are based off of policy. And abortion is the biggest one.
How many of you would identify as pro-choice? Let's do a show of hands for pro-choice.
I feel like pro-choice is pro-life, though.
Yeah.
Okay, and folks who identify as pro-life?
You hear that? The one lady, pro-choice is pro-life. So taking someone's life, just the baby's life, it makes you pro-life.
Why do you identify as each?
You've gone from legal, safe, rare to, yeah, I'm so proud, let me beatbox in front of the Planned Parenthood. Yeah,
Yep.
I got murder on my mind. The fact that it's celebrated, that murdering children, especially.
All right, controversy. I don't care what women do. I believe women should have the right to do it. I still think it's murder, personally. Once a baby's conceived, the baby's conceived. It's a person. It's a growing being. You know? Getting rid of it, yeah, it's murder. Is it right or wrong? I can't say. I don't know. I see murder as wrong, but I also see the woman's choice as being correct. Yeah, you should have a choice. But I don't think abortion should be so prevalent as it is now. It should be nowhere as prevalent as it is now.
Especially in late-term pregnancies, is celebrated. That people are so proud of themselves for mutilating a fetus is just, it blows my mind. And I don't think that you need to be pro-life to even take that stand.
You said late-term pregnancy.
Yeah.
So they always attach to one particular word that they are able to argue for. Why does that late-term pregnancy even matter? She just talked about pregnancies in general too. You know, yes, she did mention the late-term pregnancy, but all pregnancies are in a sense the same thing.
A lot of abortions do not happen.
I made
in
the
late-term
distinction.
pregnancy.
I made the distinction
Right.
specifically because
Right.
lots of people still celebrate. There are people who, when the laws were passed actually here in New York, they said, yes, great, yes, I love the fact
but
that...
you need to ask about what are people celebrating, right? They're celebrating access.
Well,
We're not
well, that's
celebrating
okay.
killing kids. Like that's
But
not what
then
it
why-
is.
well, so this is what I'm
Right?
saying.
So like,
When-
here's the thing: when we're talking about access to reproductive health and to abortion rights, right, and to being pro-choice, listen, that's your body. You do you.
The child
If
is
you
not your
decide-
body.
A zygote.
A baby.
It's so
A zygote. It's a fucking baby. If 95% of scientists says life starts right at conception, and I tend to agree. So how is it not? Just because it's a zygote. A zygote is a baby that hasn't been fully formed yet. You're just using words that reference the same thing in different stages of life. Just like a toddler and a teenager and an adult. It all represents a person, just different stages of their life.
so scary for me to hear people calling like guns the biggest equalizer for women, but taking their choices away from them at a policy level.
Why is that?
Having a gun is an equalizer.
It is.
Having rights is an equalizer.
Yeah, that's
Having
a right.
choice is
Right.
an equalizer.
Just like a gun right.
And in this country,
41 forms
the
of
I agree with that.
policies that are pushed to continue perpetuating patriarchy and anti-women, like taking the autonomy away from women, it is heartbreaking to see women pushing that propaganda. It's all brainwash. Like you.
Oh,
it
it's
is-
brainwash because you
I
don't
think-
agree with
no,
me.
I,
So therefore
I've been
I'm
brainwashed. I have
Ooh.
lived deeply institutionalized.
Ma'am,
I have lived.
Cattiness is coming out,
I'm not
guys.
interested in any of that. Like, there's no like
You're not
guilt
interested
for
in
me.
human
No, I'm not interested in like
living.
thinking that like women are doing this really bad thing. Like in my
is.
religion, abortion is actually allowed. If the woman needs it, she's allowed because it's very interesting how like fundamental America is. Like fundamentalist.
This is nothing to
very,
do with
very, like,
even
deep
religion. This is very
conservative
basic
thinking.
scientific human rights.
We're also talking about people not having access to abortion clinics where they're doing the things themselves and they die.
No.
Right? We're also talking about women.
Again, I don't think there's never any that people that are doing it themselves and dying. I mean, yeah, I'll admit there probably is, but I don't think it's a big enough portion.
In the hospital who are pregnant, who have chosen to stay with their pregnancy and have issues at hospitals, and hospitals that are like, oh, no, we don't do that. Listen, for whatever reason, you don't need to explain it to anybody, but a lot of times when we're talking about access to reproductive health, for me, I'm thinking about Black, Indigenous, people of color, particularly women and girls who are working class, who do not have even access to like proper sexual education. It's the oppressive
I don't know if Pearl's gonna bring up the stat, but I hope she does about the abortion stat, but we'll see.
state of saying, I will force you to have a child even against your own will, right? Especially when you're thinking about women and girls who
See, they look, all of them kind of nod towards this particular rhetoric, and it's like, how often is this to where the mother's life is such in line or such in danger to where they have to abort? Or for whatever reason it is. I don't think this happens that often compared to the people just aborting because they made a mistake.
who would be forced to have these children who are already living in very traumatized and scarce situations. You want to ask about barriers? That's a barrier right there.
Women in poverty aren't able to access the way that rich women are, and no matter what happens, rich women are gonna keep getting abortions, and people in poverty are gonna not. And the choice.
Yeah, this is why I want to bring up the statistic. It's actually more middle-class women that get abortions. The people that are in poverty don't actually their numbers do not equate to that much in abortions. So I don't think the lower income people are getting abortions at such a high rate.
Choice, opening it up, the overruling is marginally affecting people of color, people in poverty, way more than people who are going to get access to those abortions.
Actually,
anyway.
incorrect. You're the misquote. There's actually more abortions for people in poverty. It's just at a lower rate.
No, yeah.
Why do you think that abortion has been so tied up in this feminism conversation?
It's all just social structure set up around bodies. So if
Around
not
bodies?
all women are able to have babies, but it's about the barriers and value that we give to these specific bodies, right? And so if abortion happens in a woman's body, that's why this conversation is coming up.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
You said that not all women are able to have babies or pregnancies. Are you saying, meaning like an infertility issue?
A number of reasons. There's all kinds of reasons that not all women are having babies.
Pearl, I saw your hand up. Yeah.
I think women want to sleep around and not have any consequence for it.
Hell yeah, we do.
Yeah, instead of, you know, taking personal accountability and being on birth control, they just want to like do whatever they want.
You say this like it's
I
a
think
bad
that's flippant.
thing.
Yeah.
It almost sounds like you said.
Can I also ask, do you have any care to empower women, or is disempowering women part of your like steez?
See, this is shame, insult, guilt, need to be right. Okay. Why is it empowering to sleep around?
Yep.
No,
Why is
what
that
I'm
empowering?
saying is like, I feel like you do like take, like the way
Why
you
is it
speak on
disempowering?
women is very sort of like, women just don't want to do this. Women just don't have this. Women just wanted this.
maybe I should
And I
change my
wonder
term. Maybe
why
I
you
should
have
say-
so much like hatred towards
I
women.
don't hate
Where does
women.
that root in? It
I don't
sounds
hate
like
women.
Shame, insult, and guilt, guys.
you do.
I am a woman. I
that doesn't
don't.
mean you don't have
I could
self-hate.
be black and still be internalized racism.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I'm saying
her.
specific things that you're saying, like women don't want to work, women don't want to this, women want to sleep around. Where did you learn these
They
belief
do.
systems from?
Because, okay, the question was, why does abortion keep getting brought up? 40% of women that have had abortions have had 2 or more. 40%.
Good for
so,
them.
so what does that say to me? That means
Am I tripping out? Did she just say good for them for having 2 or more abortions? This is where it's come down to? No words. No words.
you're using it as a form of birth control, and they don't track the 60%.
What
to
kind
see-
of
Wait, can you let
abortions?
me finish? They don't track the 60% to say who in the future has abortion. So to me, it's like, why are they dying so hard for abortion? They want to sleep around with no consequences, even though you have 41 forms of birth control.
Who does that benefit? I don't think that benefits women. I think actually that benefits men because it means that men can have sex with you without consequence. It means that you can sleep with whoever you feel like, great, but there are consequences.
I agree. When I was younger, that wasn't the case. Now that I'm older, that is the case. It's much easier to sleep with women nowadays. When I was younger, I had to actually wine and dine women. So it could be because I'm older too. So I don't know. But from just my personal,
It's just because
anecdote.
women are the ones who get pregnant and carry babies and give birth.
It's very binary version of
yes,
sex.
because sex is binary. But please let me finish my point.
Oh God.
It's tricking women into thinking that aborting a pregnancy, terminating a pregnancy, is something to be celebrated. When in reality, for a lot of women, especially those who are doing it under duress, say that they've been raped, or that, you know, in the small circumstances where something really traumatic has happened to them, that's a medical decision. Or say that they're miscarrying and then they have to, you know, have an assisted termination. That's a medical procedure. It's not a celebration of, oh, look at the.
The idea, the sort of like moral setting of that it needs to be rare is, I think the delineation between that's a medical abortion and that's like a fun abortion is really interesting because they're all medical. It's all a medical procedure.
Yes, she's correct on that. They're all medical procedures, but there's medical reasonings why there needs to be done. If one, there's, you know, dangerous pregnancy, that is a medical reason why. If you just don't want the baby, there's no medical reason. That's just your choice.
And so no matter what you're doing, going in there and getting it, like it's not like, oh, you're only allowed 2. It's just like, you should just be able to get a medical procedure done when it's something that you need done.
We shouldn't be desensitized to taking someone's life. That should never be an empowering factor for a woman.
Agreed.
I definitely agree in that, like, there should be no absolute thing any woman should do. There should not be an absolute response to incest or rape or any of these things. Every woman should have the choice of if they want to or not want to carry that child, whether it is having fun, getting raped, incest, whatever it is.
It is.
I don't glorify and glamorize abortion. I think it's a very traumatic thing. I doubt that if somebody has to do, like if they have to do it, they'll do it. I don't think that people are like, you know, doing like have 6, get the 7th free and having fun with it. And I think that
We're
like
not saying that's what
glamorization
women are
and
doing.
glorification of
It's just they need to be a little bit more responsible with it. Like, we're not saying they're having fucking trying to have fun with abortions. It's just there's a lot of children dying, and the birth rates are low. There's some issues in society because of it. So
of any side is not okay.
Did the Dobbs decision make anybody here sort of rethink abortion, abortion access, reproductive health care?
It's anti-woman, right? It's it does not center people to have that voice for themselves and their own decisions, right? It is a barrier, right?
It's
if we
giving
wanna put it
more.
that
It's
way.
giving more agency to women because it's moving it back to the state level. So locally,
But why would the state have the ability to tell me what to do?
Locally,
Because it doesn't
the women.
also
why would the federal government have the ability to tell you what to do? If you say it that way, like, it's the government. Like, if you're gonna say why the state have the power, then why would you want to give the federal government the power? Like, it doesn't make sense. The federal government just said, we interpreted it wrong. Yeah, you states have all the power to say whatever you want to say about the law. Our bad, and we backing out.
Have that power.
If you take out the viewpoint that life begins at conception, which is a really big defining principle for both the pro-life crowd, who very, very, vehemently believe that.
I don't think it's just the pro-life crowd. I think a good amount of people actually do believe that. So it's just that it's hard to fight, like, because it's a very internal battle. For me, at least. Like, yeah, I think women should have the right, but I also think it's murder. Like, I don't know how law should sway towards that. I'm not a lawmaker. It's just how I feel about it.
And then obviously a lot of the pro-choice crowd do not believe that. Taking that out of the equation, you do not have just whatever kind of autonomy you want as a person. It's regardless of male or female. You can't just have free run to do whatever the hell you want. That's not how society operates.
Mm-hmm.
So
At no point do I have the right to tell anyone in this room what they should or should not do with their bodies.
But it's not about your body.
Like,
it's not
that's
about
me respecting.
I have a question here.
It's not about your body. It's about the kid's body. I don't care what you do with your body.
It's my body, right? We're talking about my body.
Look at her face. Look at her. So upset. So upset.
Jordan, I saw your hand creep up.
The Dobbs decision for me reinforced how important it is that we approach these issues from a cultural perspective, because it reinforces something that I have told many of my colleagues and peers in the past, which is that so long as you lack a cultural consensus, any issue can become a political football that can be decided by another election cycle. And so long as there is no strong consensus, I would expect this to be our reality going forward. These extremely vitriolic and aggressive conversations until there's another miraculous consensus that brought about Roe v. Wade. But what it more or less reinforced for me is that we're going to have more of these difficult conversations.
I want to talk about transgender issues. Should trans women be included in feminist conversations? How about in women's spaces?
Yes, they're women. What's the question?
Pearl, I see
Trans
your
women
hand.
or women?
Double take.
So I want to come at this from the position of an athlete.
Oh, Jesus.
So I play semi-pro basketball, semi-pro volleyball. So when it comes to like athletic spaces, I don't think that trans women should be allowed into athletic spaces, because I don't think it's a fair. I think as female athletes, we work so incredibly hard for the little opportunity there is in women's sports.
Would this be a barrier for you?
There's no barrier. There's less opportunity in some industries.
That's what
one
a
of them.
barrier is.
There's less. It's not. No. It's
That's
based
what
on the
friction
market.
means.
Okay.
Hold on, guys.
Okay, so again, we work very hard for the little opportunity there is in the space, because we're not as entertaining as the men. Sorry, we're just not. And so it's like you're gonna take the little opportunity that we're given. And the problem is, like, we can't compete.
Nope.
We can't. Like, I'm 6 foot. If I go up against a 6 foot guy and I play basketball with him, he's gonna body me.
And what happens if I go up against you?
Even
Hold on.
even if I have years more of training. And so it's like you're taking away the little opportunity that we're given and we all work so hard for, and you're just giving it back to biological guys. It's like, this will be the end of women's sports.
Have you tried confidence?
Eli, hold on, Minnie.
Sorry.
Eli.
Oh my God. I didn't realize confidence can win you championships. Oh man. Whew.
Confidence can't make me bench what a guy benches.
I don't
Confidence can't
understand why
make me
you guys
6'7".
are so hostile. She's sharing her
And confidence
experience
can't make
in
me
Right?
6'7".
No, she's sharing
And
trans
I'd have to
misogyny.
go.
No, she's
yeah.
not. She's a woman who's had
No,
an
it's always the-
experience.
it's
Hold on,
it's
one
always
at a
the-
time.
You guys
We
are
let
so
Pearl
obsessed with your
finish.
own experiences and your own existence, and yet when a woman is sitting here telling you, I feel as though this is unfair and this is compromising and this situation is not helping women, you guys are like, meh, meh, meh. But when you're like, I'm a black person that did this, 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 and this, then it's valid and fair and viable.
Eli, I want to give you the chance to respond.
So this is basically a joke of a talking point. Everyone has biological advantages in sports. How tall are you?
5'11" and a half. I'm tall.
I'm 5'8". I am a trans woman. You would
Yes, everyone does. But when one sex has so much more advantages than the other in this particular field, it's very unfair.
crush me. You would absolutely
Yeah,
crush
bone
me.
density, wrist strength,
Yeah,
muscle density, you can't switch those.
yeah, exactly. You would crush me.
But also, Eli, you would never play at the level that Pearl plays because you would never get there.
So let me give you a few more examples here too. So Michael Phelps produced more lactic acid in his body, which caused him to swim better.
They love using this fucking Michael Phelps argument. Yes, he is a little bit better than other men, biologically. But he's like fucking hundreds of miles away from women. That's the problem. Even if there's a woman that had that advantage, it wouldn't be an issue because she is still a woman. She still has the other things that are comparable. Just because one person has an advantage in one particular thing, which is the lactic acid thing, does not make them different from the other players in a sense. They do have that slight advantage. But men and women, they're not even the same players anymore.
Better than any of his competitors. This was widely celebrated, and nobody contested it. Now, this is a performance-enhancing hormone. So we all have different bodies. And now I'm not saying that trans women who aren't on hormones should participate, but there are, I mean, every major medical and every major sports organization agrees that trans women who have been on hormones for between 1 and 3 years, depending on the
'Cause they're
organization,
fucking idiots.
have the same competitive abilities.
The study that you're referencing had like 7 people participated.
That's misinformation, by the way. I'm referencing several different studies. I'm a trans woman and a researcher.
It's getting personal. I don't want it to be personal.
A lot of us live in this space where we're told that our
Sure.
opinions don't count because they're not the right kind of opinions, and we're constantly shouted over and talked over, regardless of what we look like, because there's one group in society that basically takes precedence, and it's frustrating. So yeah, of course, it's frustrating because when we try to talk about it, we get shouted down, we get told to be quiet, we get spoken down too as well. So
Okay, I
there's
think-
hostility there for plenty of women.
Let's try to make this an opportunity to speak.
You're
with
literally a
each
white
other
woman from
then.
Australia. You live in a bubble and you're pissed that voices that have been
Women really love to put the white women thing. They really love use the white race thing for women. You're also women. Like, I don't know why you want to shit on each other just because you're different races.
silenced forever finally can be heard.
That's why they have the voice, because they speak up.
Okay, we're having a conversation about transgender women participating in sports, and I wanted to allow more people to participate. Jordan, I wanted to hear from you.
So I am not a professional athlete. The closest thing I have ever done to anything athletic was I used to do competitive show choir when I was younger. And I don't feel really qualified to make carte blanche statements about whether or not trans women should compete in every kind of sport. And I understand that that is kind of That's a hard pill to swallow. And for me, my first inclination is to approach everything through a lens of inclusivity. But at the same time, I also
women, they want to include everything and everyone.
can't speak accurately to every kind of sport and the different things that go into it. So I really think in these instances, the decisions are best left up to the professional governing bodies that dictate these particular sports.
I just feel like in places, as an ally, in places where there's no understanding, we can just respect and not really, like, our opinions don't fucking matter.
Eli, I saw you nodding your head over there.
Several times. This is more than about sports. This is about free and equal participation for transgender people in social life. And the right sees this as a socially acceptable way to begin to remove trans people from different engagements in our society. So it does just start with sports or bathrooms or locker rooms, something that they find is more acceptable. And then at this point, they started to move into education, getting trans teachers fired, banning trans books. This is a route that is very effective because it's seen as more acceptable.
I see everything happening the opposite. I see a lot more trans things going on in education and things like that, so.
But it's also overlooking a lot of major details. Like, I mean, do y'all know how many trans women have won national titles?
One too many.
One. Leah Thomas is the only one.
One too many.
If
one too many?
if women's sports were actually going to end in some way, I mean, it's just not happening. Wouldn't you think there would be more trans women in sports when the majority of states do allow trans women full participation? International titles, zero. No global titles have ever been won by a trans woman.
I want to move on to a different topic. I want to talk about Me Too and sort of this social movement that we're living through right now. What is the state of feminism sort of in this post-Me Too era?
We're in post-Me Too?
All right.
Tell me.
Sorry, I got distracted by the Me Too part. So I was like, we're in post-Me Too? Wow, like, no one's getting, like, sexually harassed anymore. Like,
We did it, guys. We solved the problem.
I want that world. No, I think, obviously, the state of feminism is very much reflected right in this room. But Me Too, for me, right, in a particular context, means something for different people. It's a different experience for different people. In my culture and in my community, we're still working through that. There is no post-Me Too, right? We're still working through how do we have these tough conversations? How do we teach not just, you know, women, but everyone about consent? What does consent look like? What does that look like in our community? What does that not look like, right? All those things that I think...
I didn't realize consent looked different in other communities. I don't know why they seem to always want to marginalize each other, like, or just put themselves in this small little box that, oh, I'm this because I'm this, like, you guys don't understand me, I'm going through this. Like, no, we're talking about generalizations. Like, you guys are going so specific to your stories.
It's still very complicated, but I think it starts at the level of community, right? Of like, how do we have these conversations around consent?
Sydney, I saw your hand up.
So when the Me Too thing was unfolding, I was initially like, great, I love the idea of women being able to speak out. What's been really disappointing, I suppose, for me, post-Me Too, as we're calling it, is that, and especially as someone who's sort of on the right wing of politics, I think that a lot of the experiences of women on the right get a bit trivialized because there is a lot of politicizing of sexual assault. So when something legitimately happens on our side of the table and someone tries to speak up about it, there's almost an automatic disbelief. And I understand why. It's because of the believe all women type of stuff that came out of the Me Too movement, that a lot of us were like, wait a minute, no, people do use these situations for gain, people do make things up, people do lie, but it is sad to watch it happen. It makes me sad that we're here.
Jordan?
I feel like there'll never be a post Me Too because at the heart of it, Me Too is just a phrase. The spirit of what Me Too represented will always be relevant, and that is that you are empowering individual women to advocate for themselves and speak out when they feel like they're being wrong. Ideally, you're just trying to be the most transparent and self-accountable person you can be, and you need to hit all of those fronts if you want it to last on a cultural level.
How about beauty standards? We talked a little bit about this. This got brought up at the beginning. How does that tie into femininity?
Sorry, I'm very into this idea because I do think it is one of the larger intersections that just doesn't get very discussed, which is, like I was talking about before, barriers and friction are placed up around bodies. And the fatter I get, the older I get, the less people will listen to me, the less value I will have for society. So, you know, I'm already starting out as a woman with no legs. If I had something on my face, I have my beauty. That's one of my privileges. I have my whiteness. That's one of my privileges. I used to have thinness, and now I'm getting fatter. Things are changing. And I think every single time that we talk about feminism, pretty privilege should be discussed because we have these ideas. If your skin tone is this, if your hair is this, if your body looks like that, it's about whether or not you are given an equal opportunity based on what you look like.
I saw it.
I think a lot of times the women that complain about beauty standards don't complain about them when they got privilege, when they were young and attractive and thin. So it's like, yeah, you're complaining when the privilege is gone, but privilege is invisible to those who have it. And women, it's a privilege. And men don't turn 18 and get looks that we get.
She's going to say something.
One of the most integral parts of the beauty conversation has been colorism. I'm a dark-skinned Black woman, proud of it and proud of being myself. For the most part, I did not. Why am I going to cry about this? I did not grow up thinking I was beautiful because I was that. And I think in the Black space, we have these conversations, but I think I'm glad to bring it up because I think feminists actually really should be part of the colorism topic because colorism is not just shades within being Black, it's shades because again, the beauty standard is the closer to whiteness you are, the more beautiful you are.
Okay. I'm going to weigh in on this one. I somewhat agree. I don't think it matters that much, though. I lived through this. I am a darkie in my family. My family is quite light. They are pretty Chinese blood. And I'm literally the darkest in the whole family. I'm literally the black sheep. And they literally look at me differently because I'm black. Or, sorry, I'm darker. I'm a darkie. You know? And they make fun of my mom all the time, making like, oh, the mailman type jokes, you know, because I'm so dark and my dad is so light, you know? And I've grown up like that with my family, and I've seen how they treat my brother. My brother, okay, we'll go with my brother is like 2 inches taller than me. He's younger than me, and he's much lighter skinned than me. And he has a very Chinese face. Because of those particular features, my parents and my whole family thinks that he's better looking than me. Because just of those features alone. And he used to be overweight. He used to be like not great looking. He's a lot better now. He's done a lot better now. I've been trying to help him get better. But yeah, just because of the height factor and the skin tone factor, he was automatically sought after as more desired than I am, even though most women that I've dated said that I was better looking. Not trying to brag or anything like that, but it's crazy how just the skin tone matters, right? But when you go out into all of society, it's different. My skin tone is actually a decent skin tone for society. Most people think it's a nice bronzy tan tone, where, you know, my family thinks, no, the lighter you are, the more privileged you are, because, you know, this is kind of like the whole like house slave thing. The darker people had to work in the fields. So you became dark naturally from the sun. And the lighter people are people that stayed in the house or worked corporate type jobs. So this is why Asians, at least my culture, views lighter skin as the more sought after skin. You came from privilege, so you have privilege in a sense. I don't know why that's what it is, but so I can see why she felt that way. But how is that going to stop you from doing whatever you want to do? That's the thing where I'm like, this part of this had nothing to do with the beauty standards of society itself. It just had to do with your, you know, reality. I mean, when I was younger, I didn't think I was that great looking, right? But when society says something different, I'm like, oh, okay, everybody says I'm decent looking. I always thought I was kind of uggo, right? But as you get older, you get more confidence in your looks and your appearances. I think that's what happens for most people, or should happen for most people, right? Some people do still have that image issue, but that light skin, dark skin tone thing, yeah, I definitely know it very well, but I didn't let it really affect me too much. But
I think it's something that if more people in different shades, particularly white women, because of knowing that standard, and we work together on that, then we have a lot, I think, something we can unify on, but also something that we can make strides in right now that I'm just not seeing.
Okay, this part's weird. Okay, I'm Asian. I'm to the demographics, it's I'm the least sought after man, and then to the demographics, black men and white men are the most sought after men. I don't think they should empathize with me or, you know, like try to fix things for me. There's nothing they can do. It's just, it is what it is, right? I don't know if that's what she's trying to get to.
And it's only, again, that's why people feel like you have to be a black feminist, because it's a topic that only really black feminists are talking about, because it deals with being black.
How do beauty standards make you feel, Morris?
I mean, kind of what you're saying, Antonia, as a Black Latina woman in my community, right? Like, I grew up and I was ugly, right? Like, that's what I was considered. I was not considered beautiful. Of feeling ugly, but also being told I was, right, had a lot to do with what is believed in my community, right? Colorism is one of them. And so to say, I'm gonna redefine beauty for myself, and to say, I own myself, and I get to decide what's beautiful, right? And I get to decide what I wanna wear and how I wanna wear it. And I don't need to, right? It's almost a repelling, right? Like, I'm like, no, you know what? I am beautiful. I'm gonna do what I wanna do, and I'm gonna
I'm a 10.
feel myself, because if no one else is gonna feel me, it's on me to feel me too.
Because I'm a 10.
I gotta say though, I did grow up being referred to as very beautiful for a woman with a disability. And that to me always fed this idea that disability doesn't mean beautiful. I am in some form of exceptionalism, which I then had to keep up with forever. So it's like, I got this thought as I started to age, like, you can have no legs, but you better not fucking get fat. And so this idea
I mean,
that
look where you're at.
there are certain people who are beautiful and certain people who aren't, and that inherently holds value is, I think, you know, find it in yourself, yes. And
Jordan?
Beauty standards are toxic bullshit hierarchical nonsense. And I say that as someone who has spent over a year collectively of my life in eating disorder institutions, because I have tried to put my body through hellish things to meet these beauty standards, which more often than not are not based in reality. They're
don't eat so much and work out.
typically trends. They're created to push things. They're extremely useful for marketing, but they don't serve anyone's health. They don't serve anyone's self-esteem. They only act to try and tell us that there's a allegedly right way to have a body. And if you don't occupy that space and have that body, then you're a piece of shit, which is absolute nonsense. And there are way too many women.
I don't think most men have ever said bigger women were pieces of shit like that.
And men in the world who end up doing terrible things to themselves because they fall into this trap of thinking that you have to be this way. And if you aren't this way, then there's something inherently wrong at your core, which is nonsense. You're perfect the way you are.
No. No one's perfect the way they are. Everyone needs to work on themselves to be better.
That's literally the core of it. You are perfect the way you are. And anyone who tries to tell you otherwise is feeding into this industry and is just, they are not your friend or looking out for you.
Emotional damage.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, yeah, beauty in the industry is exploitative.
I agree with
We have
that.
to remember, a lot of the beauty standards are based around health, what's perceived as health, like symmetry, certain weights, things like that. So there is that side where we have to balance it, and I think we're seeing so much more representation, which I think is incredibly important.
Well, I just think that, like, if women really cared about beauty standards, like, the obesity rate wouldn't be what it is.
But what
Let's
about
try
you?
to attain the beauty standards. I just think, like, some people are more attractive, some people are less attractive, and that's just, you know, where would I rate myself?
Pretty
1 to
much.
10?
Well, we're not
You
rating,
know?
it's okay.
That's what I mean. Like, I just think, like, some people
So
are more
if you
attractive.
are overweight, you don't care about beauty standards.
Well,
is that right?
like, the point is that the beauty standard is thin, right?
Your standard?
Obesity comes from men and women, though.
Yeah, you're right. That's true. But I'm saying if women really wanted to fit the beauty standard, they would be thin.
I know, from my
I
experience
agree.
as well, as growing up again in a mostly white neighborhood but I was always comparing myself to literally other people who have a different body type, but I was considered other or to something because it didn't conform to that body type. When that same body type became popular with Kim Kardashian and the Kardashians, who are different, right?
They like big booties. They don't like fat chicks. You're a bigger chick.
than me, let's just say, are different skin color, right? And there's a lot of animosity, in a lot of Black communities of the fact that when it was on Black skin, it was an issue, but when it was on Kim Kardashian and the Kardashians, it was $1 billion business.
Yep. Our time together has almost come to an end. We sort of started talking about feminism, big picture. We're gonna try again. Is feminism dead?
I think feminism is alive, and I'm thankful to be a participant and believer of it.
I would say, as far as the West goes, I think that feminism has been cannibalized by other movements like leftism, like transgenderism.
So I think feminism is very much alive and well. I think it takes different forms depending on who you're talking to, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. And as I've defined in the beginning, for me, I use it as a lens. So I don't think I'll ever stop having it in my arsenal, if you will. It makes for a good vice panel.
Okay, we're done. I appreciate everybody taking the time. I know this is, it got a little heated at times, but thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Can I stand up now? Oh my God. Are we actually?
How was that, Chow? Definitely different than the normal conversations that we talk about. I mean, we don't talk about abortion too often here. But yeah, even especially the colorism. I've lived my life experiencing it, but I've never thought about talking about it or anything like that. I've always just made fun that, oh, I'm the black sheep. So I don't know how it affects women, but for men, I don't really care too much. I mean, some women find me attractive, some women don't. Well, it is what it is. Please like and subscribe down below. I'd really appreciate that, and I'll catch you in the next one. It's chow time, guys.